Hello everyone, my name is Fermin and welcome back to OFW Power. Kung hindi pa po kayo nakapag-subscribe, click the subscribe button now and hit that bell button so that you will not miss any of our updates and uploads sa ating YouTube channel. So for this video, titignan po natin ang mga index funds that is offered by COL Financial. May nag-request kasi sa amin to have a very quick overview and review of the different index funds that is offered by COL Financial. Hopefully, ito ay makapag-guide sa inyo sa pagpili ng nararapat or naaangkop na index fund para po sa inyo. So, ang nakita po ninyo sa screen mga kaibigan ay ang COL Fund Source. Yan po ang page ng COL Financial kung saan pwede kayong bumili ng mga mutual funds. Alright? So dahil index funds po ang tinitignan natin, so diretso po tayo doon sa kategorya na index funds. So nasa pinakababa po iyon, mga kaibigan. So kung nakita po ninyo dito, nakalagay po dyan sa pinakababa dito sa COL Fund Source Research tab. I-click po ninyo yung research, mapupunta po kayo dito. Nariyan po ang Equity Index Fund. Kung hindi pa po ninyo alam kung anong index fund, maaari po ninyong balikan ang ating iilang mga videos na naka-upload na ngayon sa YouTube para malaman po ninyo ano ang index fund at paano makapag-invest sa index fund. Meron pong 5 na index funds that's offered by COL Financial. So, ibig sabihin po nito ay maaari na po kayo kaagad mag-invest sa mga funds na ito, depende sa inyong mapili, kung kayo po ay may COL Financial account. So, in alphabetical order, nariyan po ang First Metro Save and Learn Philippine Index Fund. Pangalawa po, nariyan ang PAMI Equity Index Fund. Pangatlo, ang PhilEquity PLC Index Fund. Nariyan din ang Philippine Stock Index Fund at ang Sun Life Prosperity Philippine Index Fund. Ngayon, tignan na po natin at i-review na po natin ang kanilang different types of properties at para makita natin kung ito ay magugustuhan ninyo, kung alin ang nababagay para sa inyo. So, in terms of fund size, kung titignan natin kung gaano kalaki ang fund, no? So, yan po ang fund size. So, that's the total market value of the securities in a mutual funds portfolio. So, the total assets or total net assets of the fund. I-click po ninyo yan, ay masusort out po ninyo ang simula sa pinakamaliit, pinakamalaki, or pinakamalaki papunta sa pinakamaliit. So, ayan po. Kung nakita po ninyo yan mga kaibigan, ang pinakamalaki po na index fund ay PAMI Equity Index Fund. So that's 8,626 million pesos po ang kanyang asset or fund size. Sumunod po ang Philippine Stock Index Fund. Nasa 8.1 billion. And then that's followed by Sun Life Prosperity. That's 7.7 billion. PhilEquity, that's 2.8 billion. And then ang pinakamaliit po ay ang First Metro Save and Learn Philippine Index Fund, nasa 47 million pesos. Dito naman po sa tracking error ay kung gaano po siya kalayo, no? So basahin lang natin kung ano ibig sabihin ng tracking error. So it is a measure of the deviation of the fund's performance versus its benchmark. So the smaller the tracking error, the closer the fund's performance to its benchmark. So ibig sabihin ng fund performance, yun po yung kita ng fund versus the theoretical kita ng index or ng benchmark. So ang benchmark po ng index fund is automatically the PSEI or the Philippine Stocks Exchange Index. So, the more na maliit ang tracking error, the more po na mas malapit po ang kita ng funds sa PSEI. So, kung nakita natin dito, ang pinakamalapit ay ang PhilEquity PSE Index Fund at 0.60%, and then followed by Philippine Stock Index Fund, that's 0.61, magkalapit po sila. And then nariyan din followed by Sun Life, 0.7, and then ang pinakamalayo or pinakamalaki ang tracking error ay ang PAMI or PAMI Equity Index Fund, nasa 0.85%. Nakalagay dyan ang average or average para sa group na to or a group of index fund. Kukunin lang po lahat yan. So, nasa 0.69. Ibig sabihin, yung 0.7 ay above average na po yan. No? So, malaki na po na tracking error with respect to the other funds in consideration. Tignan natin ang expense ratio. Ito po mga kaibigan, ang isa sa mahalagang bagay na inyong titingnan. Hindi po ang performance or ang kita ng fund. Sapagkat ang kita ng fund, maaaring tumaas, maaaring bumaba. Ngunit ang expenses po ay fixed po yan, mananatili po yan. Kinukuha po yan sa fund. May kita man po o wala ang index fund. So, in terms of i-sort out natin ang expense ratio, click natin yan isang beses. And then let's go down. Balik tayo sa index fund. So, ang may pinakamababa po na expense ratio, total expense ratio ay ang Philippine Stock Index Fund which is 1.18%, followed by PhilEquity PSC Index Fund na 1.39, and then Sun Life which is 1.56, and then ang pinakamataas po dito sa mga index fund that is offered by COL Financial ay ang PAMI Equity Index Fund which is 1.9%. Medyo malaki po siya, halos nasa 2% na po. So, kung expense ratio lang ang titignan mga kaibigan, definitely Philippine Stock Index Fund ay pinakamababa po ang kanyang expense ratio. Okay? Okay, next column po tayo. So, kung nakita po ninyo, pabaligtad tayo, no? Galing tayo sa pinakakanan and then papunta sa kaliwa. Yung management fee naman po ay, yan po ay kasama na dun sa expense ratio. Ibig sabihin ay ang management fee, dagdag na po yan dun sa mga operational expenses. Ang total po na expenses ay ang tinatawag na expense ratio. So, ito pinapakita lang dito kung magkano po ang nakukuha ng fund house o ibig sabihin yung fund manager, no? So, ang pinakamalaki po ang management fee, tignan natin. Okay, punta tayo sa baba. Ang pinakamalaki ang management fee ay ang First Metro Save and Learn, followed by PAMI and then Sun Life. Ang pinakamaliit ang management fee po ay po ang PhilEquity at ang Philippine Stock Index Fund, which is very good. So, the lower the management fee, the lower the expense ratio, the better the fund. Okay? Sapagkat tandaan po natin ang expense ratio ay kinukuha po sa kita ng fund. May kita man ito o wala, kinukuha po yun sa fund. Kaya nakaka-apekto po ito in the long term sa mga investors. And now, let's go to the measurements of risk, mga kaibigan. Yan po ang Sharpe ratio at ang standard deviation. No? So, ang Sharpe ratio is, kung basahin natin dito, mga kaibigan, it's a measure of the fund's excess return per unit of risk it has taken on. So, the higher the Sharpe ratio, the better. So, mas mataas ang Sharpe ratio, mas malaki po ang return or mas malaki ang kita for every unit of risk na ina-assume ng fund. So, the higher the Sharpe ratio is the better. Sa standard deviation naman, ito po ay a measurement of risk or a measurement of volatility. No? So, it's a measure of volatility of the fund's historical returns relative to its mean. Kung ano yung average na kita niya. So, the lower the standard deviation, ibig sabihin, halos nandun po siya sa median or sa mean or sa average value naglalaro. So, hindi masyadong magalaw kapag mababa ang standard deviation. Tandaan natin, ang standard deviation hindi necessarily masama kung mataas ang standard deviation because it almost follows that the higher the standard deviation, the riskier the stock or the riskier the fund, the higher the potential return na pwedeng ibigay sa inyo. But, on a bear market or a downturn or a market downturn, mas mataas din ang potential or tendency na malulugi or malaki ang inyong potential loss. Okay? So, tignan natin yung Sharpe ratio. So, Sharpe ratio, again, as we've said, the higher the Sharpe ratio, the better. So, kung nakita po natin, puro negative po siya sapagkat this is measured in terms of, I think this is on an annual basis. So, in terms of the last 1 year, negative po ang kaniyang return with respect to the risk taken. So, dahil po yan sa market volatility recently. So, halos negative sila lahat, kaya wala tayong makukuhang value dyan in terms of that number. So what we can take note is kung gaano kalayo sila sa isa't isa. As what you've seen ay halos magkapareho po sila mga kaibigan, 0.65, 61, 60, 60, no? Magkapareho po ang PhilEquity at ang Philippine Stock Index Fund. Pinakamataas po ay ang PAMI Equity Index Fund. Pero hindi magkakalayo kasi 0.6 lang po sila halos lahat, no? Yung isa is 0.65. So masasabi natin na ang kanilang risk-reward ratio ay halos magkapareho po. So pare-pareho po sila in terms of the return that's gained by the fund relative to the amount of risk that is assumed. Now, let's go to the standard deviation. Ito naman pong next column na ito ay ang standard deviation. So, ang PAMI is nasa 1705, followed by Sun Life, which is 17.19. And then we have PhilEquity or Philippine Stock Index, which is 17.28. Ang PhilEquity po ang may pinakamataas na standard deviation. But again, these are not significant difference. Kasi kung nakita po ninyo, 17, 17, 17, 17 lang po sila lahat. Whereas kung magsasabi siguro natin, isa 17, isa 10, isa 11, isa 9, ay significant difference, no? But here, it's almost 17%. So halos pare-pareho. Kaya masasabi rin natin, in terms of risk that's assumed by the fund or in terms of volatility, halos magkapareho po lahat ng equity index fund that is offered by COL Source or COL Financial. Okay? Now, dito tayo sa next column. Ang next column are fund performance na po. So, we will not go into the numbers sa mga fund performance because as I've said, hindi po secondary lang po ito kung titignan natin in terms of overall kung titignan natin kung alin ang magandang fund kung saan tayo mag-i-invest, ano? So tandaan natin na ang equity index fund is these funds specifically dito sa Pilipinas ay they invest into the PSEI stock composition. So they invest into the Philippine Stock Exchange Index basket of goods. Kung ano yung composition ng PSEI, yun din po ang susundan ng equity index fund. But please take note na not all equity index fund are the same, no? Minsan may pagkakaiba po sila, kaya it really pays to take particular attention into the prospectus and yung kanilang fund fact sheet. Tignan po natin mabuti para malaman po natin kung gaano po ang pagkakaiba nila. Kasi baka kasi although they invest on those stocks that's composed in the PSEI ay halos magkalayo po, no? In terms of weightings ay magkakaiba po sila ng weightings. So tingnan natin mga kaibigan yung kanilang mga fund fact sheet sa bawat index fund. So unahin natin ang First Metro. Total na riyan na po siya. And then click lang po natin yung fund fact sheet. Lakihan natin para kitang-kita. Alright. So, nakita natin dito muna tayo, yung investment objective nila ay pare-pareho lang po yan. So, in terms of investment information, nariyan po ang kanilang classification, yung kanilang net asset value per share. There's so many information that you can read from the fund fact sheet. So, hopefully, ito ay makatulong sa inyo para makapag-decide kayo alin ang tamang index fund na nababagay sa inyo, na inyong kung saan kayo mag-i-invest. Kaya, titignan natin isa-isa. Kaya, ito yung fund size. Unahin natin yung fund size. So, nakita natin yung fund size niya. That's only 51 million pesos. So, napakaliit. Hindi siya umabot ng billion pesos. Ano? Maliit po siya. And then, nariyan din po yung kaniyang benchmark year-on-year return and yung annualized volatility. At saka yung year-on-year return ng fund mismo. So, tignan natin yung year-on-year. Sapagkat ito ay 1 year. So, tandaan natin yung mga equity funds or equity mutual funds, specifically itong mga index funds na to. We highly advise that you don't invest in these types of investments kapag ang inyong time horizon ay napakaiksi. Ibig sabihin less than 10 years. We recommend to invest in these types of instruments kapag ang inyong time horizon is long term, meaning more than 10 years pataas. Kung bakit? Because maybe you cannot ride onto the market volatility. Hindi natin alam 1 year from now, 2 years from now, biglang bumaba ang stock market. Just like what happened recently due to COVID-19, and then bumagsak ang stock market. And then hindi mo kailangan mo ang pera na para sa iyong pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan siguro, o baka kailangan mo nang i-withdraw yung pera sapagkat kayo ay wala ng income or this and that. So, you have to know your investment objective, your time horizon. Kapag medyo long, short term po, we don't advise to invest heavily on stocks. So you should have some form of bonds, because bonds are fixed income securities, and that will smoothen out the volatility of your investment portfolio. Okay? So we don't really look at year on year, just like what I've said. So maybe we can look at the inception, since inception. So ito ay naitatag noong 2013. So nakita nyo po dyan, inception date, December 11, 2013. And we go to the annualized performance since inception, or SI. Nakita natin dyan ay 6.42, negative po siya. No? So hindi siya kumita since inception kung titignan natin ang kanyang fund performance. Baka sasabihin ninyo, ibig sabihin ay negative ako kung ako'y nag-invest dyan. Opo. So, kung nagsimula kayo noong December 2013 at kung winidraw ninyo yung pera ngayon, ay wala po kayong kinita. So, negative 6 po ang inyong performance. So, if you can see, ay talagang nakita nyo po sa graph, ay ganyan po ang itsura niya, no? So, it's a very bad, I would say it's not a very good performance. So, kung nakita nyo yung NAVPS, ay talagang very affected po siya itong COVID pandemic. Nandito na siya. And then, from 1, naging halos nandito na lang siya sa 0.7 something or 0.6 siguro. Kaya negative 6% ang kanyang return. Pero ang benchmark from year on year, from on the same period, 2013 to present, that will be negative 0.7. So, kung nakita po ninyo, napakalaki ng difference sa benchmark. So, I would say that this is not a very good performance kasi napakalayo po niya sa benchmark. So, there's a very large tracking error. So, hindi niya halos masundan yung index. So, that's what we said a while ago. Not all index are exactly alike. Okay? So, sana maliwanag po yan. And then, hindi na natin balikan, discuss na natin yung management fee. Kung ikaw ay gusto mag-invest po dito, ay ang initial investment is 5,000 pesos and additional investment of 1,000 pesos. And the holding period po is 6 months. Kaya within 6 months, kapag gusto mong withdrawin ang pera mo, may penalty po na 1%. Wala po itong charge, wala po itong front end, and wala po itong back end load, mga kaibigan. So, ang back end load na sinasabi namin, kapag mag-withdraw kayo or mag-redeem na kayo ng inyong mga shares, zero na po siya after 6 months. Okay? So, masasabi na rin natin, wala na siyang back end load. Top 10 holdings, we don't have to be concerned about the top 10 holdings or kung ano man yung kanyang holdings, because we know that it will hold the 30 stocks that composes the PSEI. So, ang sa atin lang is we will have an idea of how much is kung maganda ba yung performance ng fund, kasi malayo ba siya dun sa benchmark o hindi. Kaya tinignan natin kanina ang kanyang cumulative performance since inception. So nakita natin na yung fund is negative 34, ang benchmark was minus 6.42, and then so yung annual performance ng fund since inception was negative 6.42, ang benchmark was negative 0.7. Napakalayo po, halos 6% or 5% plus ang kanyang difference. Alright? So, iwanan na natin si First Metro Asset Management Philippine Index Fund. Ang pangalan niya, First Metro Save and Learn Philippine Index Fund. So, kung akong tatanungin po ninyo, I will not invest in this index fund po. Alright? Now, balik tayo sa research. Ang susunod nating titignan ay ang PAMI Equity Index Fund. Diretso tayo sa fan fact sheet. Okay, so this is under the BPI Management, Investment Management Inc. Ito po yung fan fact sheet po niya, mga kaibigan. So this is an equity fund, so this will track the index again. net asset value per share, nariyan po sa kaliwa, nasa kanan. And then the total fund NAV or net asset value in terms of millions of pesos is 8,619,000,000. So it's quite big in terms of asset size, okay? Net asset value. So if you want to invest in this fund, 1,000 pesos initial investment, additional investment is 500 pesos. Minimum holding period is 180 calendar days. So that will be 6 months. Okay, there's an early redemption charge of 1% then kapag i-redeem po ninyo yung shares within 6 months. Okay? Oh, now let's see the annualized performance ng fund na ito. So since inception, so that's February, kailan ba ito nagsimula? That's June 2015. So masasabi nating 5 years old lang ang fund na ito. At tignan natin yung annualized performance ng fund against the benchmark. So since inception, nakita natin negative 7.32. Talaga namang apektado din lahat, no? During the COVID pandemic. Because this is as of March 31, 2020. And then, nakita natin yung benchmark sa annualized performance, negative 5. So, ang difference po nila, mga kaibigan, is nasa 2%. So, it's a pretty close. Not very close, but it's pretty close as compared dun sa ating unang fund na tiningnan kanina, which is almost 7 or almost 7% or 6% difference, right? So, ito medyo malapit po siya ng konti, negative 7, negative 5. Ang magandang performance po is parehong bagsak kayo, pero napaka-close or napakalapit po ng inyong numbers. So, if the benchmark is negative 5, I will expect negative 5 as well. So, that's a very good tracking. No, halos 0% tracking error. That's good. Alright, so, kung tatanungin po ninyo ako, kung ako'y mag-i-invest sa fund na ito, siguro hindi, but I will think it over. I will do more research. Okay? So, next fund po tayo. Dito tayo sa PhilEquity PSE Index Fund. Okay? Let's click the fund fact sheet. All right. This started February 1999, and the minimum holding period is 90 days. So that's just 3 months as compared with the 6 months dun sa dalawang una nating ni-review. And then yung early redemption fee niya is pareho din, 1%, with a fund size of 2 billion, 2.8 billion pesos. All right? So wala tayong data po dito, mga kaibigan, sa annual performance since inception. Pero meron po tayo ditong year-to-year basis for the last, let me see. So that's 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that's 5 years. Ano? So makita natin, mga kaibigan, ang yung fund, which is the blue, and then yung PSEI, which is the benchmark. So tingnan natin 2013, that's almost 2%, 21, 22, 1%, 1%, 1%, 25, 25, that's pareho, halos 0%. And this one is almost the same. 2019 is 1%. Very close. So, very close. So, it's really tracking the index very nicely. You know? Kung nakita natin dito, ang blue line at saka yung yellow line is really quite close to each other. At kung ano ang galaw ng PSEI, yun din ang galaw ng PhilEquity PSE Index Fund, which is good. So kung nakita natin dyan, nakita ninyo ang tracking error po ay 3%, 0.41. So dito malaki ang tracking error niya, no? Ito po yung sinasabi natin na kung anong galaw ng index, ganun dapat ang galaw din ng fund. So sa 2013, nasa 3%, 0.41, 92, 0.49, 0.0306, and 1.84, 1.91, which is quite good performance po. So napaka close to each other po ang bawat isa. What I like with the PhilEquity PSE Index Fund is it's not very expensive. sapagkat yung kanyang NAVPS ngayon is nasa 3 or 4 or 5 pesos, whereas yung isang fund na halos kapareho nito ay nasa 200 pesos. So it's very affordable. And then the other thing is really the expense ratio. So ang expense ratio is really low as compared to the other index funds. Okay? So I'm currently investing in this index funds, so you might want to consider investing, or you might want to do more research with regard to this fund. And then dito tayo sa Philippine Stock Index Fund. So this is another index fund na napakaganda po ng kanyang very nice expense ratio, mababa po. Okay, nakita natin doon kanina. So, isa to sa pinakamababa ang expense ratio, no? So, the Philippine Stock Index Fund by BPI Investment Management Incorporated. So, if you want to invest in this fund, 5,000 pesos initial investment and 1,000 pesos additional investment. Minimum holding period po is 3 months. That's 90 days. And then 1% early redemption charge kung maaga po ninyong kukunin ang inyong pera from the fund. Now, tignan natin kaagad yung performance niya, yung annualized fund performance. Diretso tayo sa since inception, mga kaibigan. So, 9.82 versus 9.6. Very, very close. And then 5 years, 7.58, 769. 4 years, 7.7. 3 years is 9.10. 18.17, 32.32. Very close to each other. So, if you see, ang benchmark, ang fund at saka yung PSEI ay napakalapit po, no? Napaka-close nila po sa isa't isa. So, it's a very good tracking. So, if you can see, the tracking error is only 0.18%. Okay? And the portfolio beta is 1.0. That means it's really closing or tracking very closely to the index or to the benchmark, I mean. Yeah. So, the benchmark is the index. So, 1.0. Okay? So, very nice. Nakalagay din yan ang current number of holdings, so 33. So remember that the PSEI is composed of 30 stocks, so it has 33. So maybe may tatlo pa siyang additional stocks in bukod dun sa index composition. Okay? Okay, very good. So if you would ask me, I will invest in this fund. This is a really very nice performance. Okay? Nice fund in terms of the fund characteristics. And by the way, ang fund na ito ay 8 billion. So one of the largest, so that's 8 billion pesos. Okay? Now let's go to the last one. Now let's go to the last one, which is Sun Life Prosperity Philippine Stock Index Fund. Okay, fund fact sheet. All right. Now, this was launched in 2015, so relatively new. 5 years old lang po siya. Yung fund size po niya ay 7,784,251,810.37. Talagang very exact, ano? So it's 7.7 billion. Mas maliit ng konti dun sa Philippine Stock Index Fund kanina lang. Okay? Now, invest in Sun Life Prosperity Philippine Stock Index Fund, 1,000 pesos, and then subsequent investment is 1,000 pesos din. Sometimes this is the thing that I don't like with the fan fact sheet. Kasi yung ibang fan fact sheet, gaya nung nakita natin kanina sa PhilEquity, PSE Index Fund, talagang very detailed, maraming information. Some, they have very little information. So you need to do more research. I don't know why, but you have to take a look at expense ratio, yung tracking error po nila, at yung iba pang mga data, no? So yung iba nagde-declare ng portfolio beta, nagde-declare na standard deviation. Yung iba ay wala talagang data. So you have to be very careful. You have to keep on looking at those numbers at tingnan talaga ninyo kung ano po yung mga data ng fund bago kayo mag-invest doon. Okay? So, katulad nito, ang fund performance niya is 3-year return. So, I don't care about 3 years. I don't care about 1 year either. I care about 5 years, 10 years. I care about since inception. Ano? At sapagkat dahil ito ay relatively new lang, so kaya siguro yan lang ang data na nakalagay sa kanila. So, tignan natin yung 3 years, 27, 26. 32, 32, 31, 31, which is quite close. Okay? So, very close and I think I like in terms of tracking. Kasi ang gusto natin sa isang index fund that talagang nakatrack talaga siya sa PSEI. So, that's it mga kaibigan. Hopefully, ay nakapag-share kami sa inyo ng very quick insight on na makatulong sa inyo in your selection process kung kayo ay mag-i-invest sa index fund. Sa susunod nating mga videos, we will go into a more detailed discussion kung ano-ano yung mga titingnan. Ito ay very high level lang, ika nga. So, kumbaga preliminary ng ito na pagtitingin. Tandaan din natin na hindi lahat ng equity index fund ay nandito. So, you have to keep looking. May mga Soldivo at kung ano-ano pang mga funds na nandyan. Ano? So, you have to keep on looking. Baka meron pang mga index funds na mababang expense ratio, maayos ang tracking error, beta, okay, very close to the index. So, yung mga information na yun ay, we will talk about those in our next future videos. So, sana may nakuha kayo at may napulot kayo sa ating video ngayon. Ako po si Fermin. Hanggang sa susunod, maraming salamat po.